I am Makan Abazari Shah Iran, Makan Abazari the Supreme of Climate, Makan Abazari the Supreme of Geophysics, Makan Abazari the Supreme of Weather Warfare, Makan Abazari the Messenger of God. I am the King of Kings, Makan Abazari Shah Iran, the first king of Makanian Dynasty. Russia and Ukraine must become provinces of Iran. Russia and Ukraine are provinces of Iran. The capital city is in Iran, between Persian Gulf and Caspian Sea. Makan Abazari Shah Iran is the government. The name of unified empire is Iran. Makan Abazari Shah Iran is the government. I have conquered Ukraine once or twice. I have also prevented overthrow of Russia twice. Long time ago they were trying to overthrow Russia and I prevented it and I countered overthrow of Russia. Later, in the last election, in Russian presidential election, I helped Putin and I made sure Putin wins the election again. It was during the Russian-Ukraine war when I made sure Putin wins the election in Russia. At that time, I was in Iran. And when I was in Iran, I worked on it for 3, 4, or 5 days and I wrote several materials to make sure Putin wins the election in Russia, and Putin won the election with Putin won the election with more than 90% majority. Putin could not have won with that much majority and that much vote. I made sure Putin wins the election, and I made sure Putin remains in power. I made Putin fifth term president of Russia, and I extended his power. Before then, I prevented overthrow of Putin and overthrow of Russia several times. I had helped Russia many times in the past. I helped Russia during when USA Congress and when another forces in America were sanctioning Russia. There was a time when Europe and America were organizing against Russia all the time. It was before Ukraine and Russia war. Before Ukraine and Russia war, Europe and America were organizing and acting against Russia all the time. But I helped Russia and I made sure Russia wins in diplomatic, geopolitical, and other settings and events in Europe. And I was making sure Europe is always on the side of Russia. They were not always on the side of Russia, but I helped Russia many times and I prevented great enmity toward Russia. So I defeated enemies of Russia in Europe and I made it more favorable to Russia. I also did many good things for Ukraine at that time. And Russia and Ukraine were enemies, but they were not in war. Before the Russia and Ukraine war starts, I went to Iran another time. It was before the Russian election. It was before Russian election when I made Putin president of Russia. Before then, about 4 or 5 years before then, I went to Iran, and when I was in Iran, I made sure Zelensky becomes president of Ukraine. So, both Putin and Zelensky are my assets and my forces in Ukraine and Russia. I did not start the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I did not want Russia and Ukraine to fight each other and go into the war. I planned it to make sure Russia goes into war with NATO and United States of America. I mentioned it many times that we don't want war in North Africa, Horn of Africa, Middle East, Arabian Peninsula, Iran, Caucasus, East Europe, Southwest Russia, Central Asia, Afghanistan, Pakistan, West China, and the central regions of the earth. And I said we want peace and security in these regions, and we want to stop all wars, civil wars, and conflicts in these regions. But unfortunately, Russia attacked Ukraine. Russia attacked Ukraine, and majority of Russia and Ukraine was destroyed. Majority of Russia and Ukraine are already dead because they killed each other, and also NATO helped Ukraine a lot with weapons and did other activities to defeat and kill Russia. So Russia shouldn't have attacked Ukraine, but Russia should have attacked NATO and USA. Russia must defeat, eliminate, and destroy NATO and USA. Russia must declare war on NATO and USA. Russia must invade USA in North America. Russia must destroy NATO and USA. So Russia must start a war with NATO and USA, because they created Ukraine and Russia problems, and Russia and Ukraine conflicts to destroy Ukraine and Russia. So they created Ukraine and Russia war and conflict to destroy both of them. If you remember, before the Russia and Ukraine war starts, they were destroying, America was doing it, Trump was doing it. They were destroying many things in Ukraine. I don't want to say what it was, but they were destroying many things in Ukraine. And they were killing many of the Ukraine scientists, engineers, and other things. And they were doing it to Russia too, far before Ukraine and Russia war starts. And they were destroying both of them, and they were intending to defeat and destroy both of them for a very long time. Very long time ago, there was overthrow of Ukraine. They overthrew Ukraine, and then I counter-overthrew Ukraine. And then they created civil war in Ukraine. And they were intending to destroy Russia and Ukraine by civil wars and overthrows they were creating. So later, some years passed, maybe 5-6 years passed, and I overthrew Ukraine again, and I brought Zelensky to power in Ukraine. My intention was to create good Russia-Ukraine alliance and create good Iran and Ukraine alliance. Russia and Iran have good alliance, and Iran and Russia must improve and have better alliances. So, but Iran shot down Ukrainian aircraft, and a simple, stupid, and worthless Boeing aircraft was destroyed over airs of Iran. I think America did it, or maybe Iran did it. I don't know who did it. But for a stupid Boeing aircraft, Iran and Ukraine became enemy, and Zelensky was giving speeches against Iran all the time. And everybody on the news was talking about Iran and Ukraine all the time. And they were creating enmity between Iran and Ukraine for a stupid passenger aircraft. For a stupid passenger aircraft, Iran lost Ukraine, which I had conquered. But at that time, I didn't want to add Ukraine and Russia to provinces of Iran. But now I have changed my mind. It has been now 4 or 5 years that I have changed my mind. Russia and Ukraine must become provinces of Iran. Russia and Ukraine are provinces of Iran. The capital city is in Iran, between Persian Gulf and Caspian Sea. Makan, Abazari, Shah Iran is the government. The name of unified empire is Iran. Makan, Abazari, Shah Iran is the government. So I wanted to help Russia during the Ukraine and Russia war, but I couldn't attack Ukraine because I had already conquered Ukraine, and I couldn't attack my own forces in Ukraine. Also, America didn't let me attack Ukraine when the war between Russia and Ukraine started. They did something to prevent me from attacking Ukraine. And later when I went to Iran, Iran was also creating conditions to prevent me from attacking Ukraine. But I helped Russia in several occasions. For example, I have overthrew majority of NATO member states, and I destroyed them by earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, superstorms, energy weapons, industrial bombings, civil wars, famine, overthrows, counter-overthrows, and other methods. I defeated and destroyed majority of NATO members and USA. And I also overthrew all of them to add them to provinces of Iran. They are provinces of Iran. The capital city is in Iran, between Persian Gulf and Caspian Sea. Makan, Abazari, Shah Iran is the government. The name of unified empire is Iran. Makan, Abazari, Shah Iran is the government. So I didn't go directly into war with NATO because I don't want to take part in wars and conflicts, because militaries are dangerous and bad. And I don't want to take part in wars. But I defeated and destroyed a majority of NATO member states by weather warfare, earthquakes, hurricanes, superstorms, tornadoes, energy weapons, industrial bombings, civil wars, famine, overthrows, and other methods. So it was the reason why Haxett, or Defense Secretary of the United States of America, said that they don't intend to station NATO and USA troops in Ukraine. I didn't follow and I didn't see majority of Ukraine and Russia war, but I also helped Russia in other occasion. For example, I was destroying infrastructures in NATO member states by earthquakes and weather warfare. So I was destroying rapid deployment route, roads, bridges, tunnels, military infrastructures, and other things in NATO member states by earthquakes and weather warfare. And I saw that NATO has threatened me by nuclear bombs. So after NATO threatened me by nuclear bombs, I started using hurricanes, earthquakes, superstorms, tornadoes, famine, civil wars, and other things against NATO again, and I destroyed NATO member states and around. It was a time when Iran told me, every time you talk about NATO, every time you are in a peace conference or peace deal conversation with NATO, or you have any conversation with NATO, also hydrogen bomb NATO. And we intend to hydrogen bomb NATO and all NATO member states and annihilate and eradicate all life forms, all living things, all militaries and everything else in all NATO member states by hydrogen bombs, weather warfare, earthquakes, famines, civil wars, tornadoes, and other methods. If there is a war between us and NATO, or if NATO attacks us, or if NATO attacks Iran, or if NATO wants to create an agreement with us, or if NATO threatens us. And if NATO leaders, NATO, who was the NATO leader? I think it was Jens Stoltenberg or something like that. And things like that. It was, or anybody else in NATO, in position of leadership of NATO, threatens me, we will annihilate and exterminate all NATO member states. I know it is difficult to destroy their military equipment. For example, Iran told me Ukrainian assault rifles and Ukrainian guns and Ukrainian weapons are not destroyed in smelters and metallurgy industries. For if you put them in metallurgy industries or smelters or in like melted and smelted metals, they are not destroyed because their materials are from materials and metallurgy is metallurgy compositions that are not melted and they are not smelted in extreme temperature. So they create them in a manner that they are not destroyed, for example, in iron mill or a steel mill or iron works. So they are not destroyed in smelters and metallurgy industries. So it is also difficult to destroy main NATO weapons. And Iran told me you cannot kill the tanks with famines. Its problems is not food. So I can kill all NATO member states and all their populations with famine alone. I can make sure nobody ever lives in NATO member states again and kill all of them by famine and other climate weapons. So no living thing will live in NATO member states. No humans, no animals, no species, no life forms, no trees, no plants. Nothing will live in NATO member states again. But again, their weapons are not destroyed. And it is still possible to destroy them. So there are weapons that destroy other weapons. But with climate and these things, it's a little bit difficult. There is still ways to destroy them by climate weapons and other things. For example, USA military was defeated in Tabas storm when USA military started invading Iran. And USA military was destroyed in Tabas storm and tornadoes that was in Tabas, Iran, and they couldn't take Iran capital. And there is other methods to destroy NATO weapons. For example, I increase the temperature to 1 million degrees Celsius. I melt and I evaporate hills and mountains and the lands and military equipment and everything else in Europe and NATO member states. So everything evaporates. Their tanks, their military equipment, their weapons, their people, their soldiers, and everything they have, they will melt and evaporate. So I can melt and evaporate them with climate weapons. Again, my climate weapons, weather warfare, nuclear bombs, hydrogen bombs, and other things are mine. For example, I built nuclear bombs and hydrogen bombs in Iran. I didn't get them from Russia. Russia offered to use nuclear bombs for me. But I have my own nuclear bombs and everything I have, they are my own and I didn't get them from others. My nuclear bombs, my hydrogen bombs, weather warfare, climate, geophysics, weather warfare, earthquakes and other things are all my private property and I don't give them to anyone. and they're all mine. They're not for Russia, they're not for America, they're not for anyone. They're all mine. So, what I was saying, so dissolve NATO, end NATO, leave NATO. All NATO member states must leave NATO. End NATO alliance. All NATO member states must leave NATO. Turkey and all other NATO member states must permanently leave NATO, and NATO alliance must be dismantled and dissolved forever. And we don't intend to go into war with NATO, but we offer peace to NATO. But if NATO attack us, we will kill all NATO member states and everything about NATO, and we will wipe everything that live on the surface and under the surface of NATO member states. For example, we will start destroying underground facilities and underground cities by earthquakes, and we will kill everything that lives underground, and we will kill everything that lives on the surface of NATO member states by climate weapons and weather warfare. So all humans, all animals, all fish, all birds, all species, all peoples, all cities, all infrastructures, all industries, all factories, all historic sites, all civilizations, all nations, all peoples, all nuclear industries, all transit infrastructures, all buildings, all cities, all metropolitans, everything else on the surface and all under the surface of all NATO member states will die and will be destroyed. But we don't intend to go into war with NATO member states, and we will also hydrogen bomb and nuclear bomb all NATO member states if they attack me, my forces, Iran, or others. But our intention is to prevent them from attacking me, Iran, and my forces. Okay. And Russia must attack and destroy NATO and USA. So Russia must attack and eliminate NATO and USA. We want Russia to attack and eliminate and destroy NATO and USA, and also we want Russia to invade USA. We designed Russia to ensure Russia will destroy and eliminate USA and NATO, and we designed Russia in a manner to ensure Russia invades USA. And Russia has the capability to reach USA. I have checked several times, and Russia has the navy, military, and other capabilities to reach USA through Atlantic Ocean and through Pacific Ocean. So Russia must invade and eliminate and destroy USA in North America. Russia must also eliminate and destroy NATO member states. So, what else? Russia and Ukraine must become provinces of Iran. I prevented fall of Putin several times, and I've prevented overthrow of Russia several times. And I made sure Putin wins the election again. I also brought Zelensky to power, and I made him president of Ukraine. I also created the best weather and best climate, and I brought rain to southwest Russia and other parts of Russia. So I'm bringing best weather and best climate to southwest Russia, and I'm bringing rain to Russia, southwest Russia, Kafkaz, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, West China, Middle East, Arabian Peninsula, Horn of Africa, and North Africa. So I'm bringing rain, best weather, and best climate to these regions. All these regions are provinces of Iran. The capital city is in Iran, between Persian Gulf and Caspian Sea. Makan, Abazari, Shah Iran is the government. The name of unified empire is Iran. Makan, Abazari, Shah Iran is the government. I am also industrializing southwest Russia, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Georgia, Iran, Turkey, Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Gaza, Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Somalia, Somaliland, Sudan, Egypt, Libya, Tunisia, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and West China at max efficiency and max capacity. So I'm industrializing these regions at max efficiency and max capacity. I'm making them industrial powers, and I'm making Iran absolute dominant nuclear, military, economic, industrial, technological, trade, transit, climate, weather warfare, geophysics, magnetosphere, rain, food security, farming, food production, geopolitics, diplomatic, geologistic, geostrategic, cultural, logistic, and strategic superpower of the world. I am making Iran absolute dominant superpower of the world in all categories. So I'm also industrializing all these nations I mentioned. All these nations are provinces of Iran. The capital city is in Iran, between Persian Gulf and Caspian Sea. Makan Abazari Shah Iran is the government. The name of unified empire is Iran. Makan Abazari Shah Iran is the government. I never directly attacked Ukraine because I brought Zelensky to power. And I also didn't want to get involved in the war, and Iran and America didn't let me get involved in the war. I never attacked Russia. I always helped Russia. I did many great things for Russia throughout years and in many years. And I have been still doing many great things for Russia to this day. But when it was about the time of election in Russia, I destroyed majority of NATO member states, and I continued doing it for a long time. And I defeated and destroyed a majority of the NATO member states. So, Russia and Ukraine must become provinces of Iran. Russia and Ukraine are provinces of Iran. The capital city is in Iran, between Persian Gulf and Caspian Sea. Makan Abazari Shah Iran is the government. The name of unified empire is Iran. Makan Abazari Shah Iran is the government. I have also overthrown all NATO member states, or I have counter-overthrown all NATO member states. So all NATO member states must also become provinces of Iran. All NATO member states are provinces of Iran. The capital city is in Iran, between Persian Gulf and Caspian Sea. Makan Abazari Shah Iran is the government. The name of unified empire is Iran. Makan Abazari Shah Iran is the government. NATO must end forever. NATO alliance must end forever. Dissolve NATO. All NATO member states must leave NATO. NATO must end all its activities. NATO must not continue its existence. We don't want to keep NATO in power because NATO is a dangerous force and is ever expanding and has been in wars against many countries all the times and has been killing and destroying many parts of the world for years and decades. So it's time to end NATO, and NATO alliance must end forever. I have already overthrown all NATO member states. Russia and Ukraine are provinces of Iran. The capital city is in Iran, between Persian Gulf and Caspian Sea. Makan Abazari Shah Iran is the government. The name of unified empire is Iran. Makan Abazari Shah Iran is the government. I have also overthrown all NATO member states, and they must also become provinces of Iran. They are provinces of Iran. The capital city is in Iran, between Persian Gulf and Caspian Sea. Makan Abazari Shah Iran is the government. The name of unified empire is Iran. Makan Abazari Shah Iran is the government. Iran must crown me Makan Abazari Shah Iran. I am Makan Abazari Shah Iran, and I will forever be Makan Abazari Shah Iran. Repeatedly overthrow Iran until Iran crowns me Makan Abazari Shah Iran. I am Makan Abazari Shah Iran. Makan Abazari, the supreme of climate. Makan Abazari, the supreme of geophysics. Makan Abazari, the supreme of weather warfare. Makan Abazari, the messenger of God. I am the king of kings, Makan Abazari Shah Iran, the first king of Makanian Dynasty.